All right, so welcome back, everyone, to another deep dive. And today, we're going to be unpacking a story that's just kind of strange, but also really thought-provoking, I think.
Yeah.
So, picture this. You're just at the supermarket, right? Picking out some produce, just doing your normal thing. And then all of a sudden you see someone spraying bug spray,
Yeah.
like just all over the food.
Oh, wow.
It's kind of crazy, right? It sounds like some kind of prank or something.
Yeah, you'd think so, right?
But this actually happened.
Really?
Yeah, this happened in Mesa, Arizona.
No.
And, the man behind this whole bizarre act, his name is Charles Smith, but he calls himself Wolfie online.
Okay.
And he actually identifies as like a troll.
A troll, okay.
So and this is the crazy part, he filmed himself like contaminating the produce, like spraying it with the bug spray and everything.
I know.
And he posted it online.
He posted online.
Yeah, he posted it online. And here's the thing. He claims that he makes like up to $10,000 a month from these videos. Wow.
I know. It's kind of wild, right?
Yeah, that's a lot of money. So it's like this whole question of like, why are people like driven to these extremes,
Yeah.
just for like online attention? And what does that say about these platforms? Like, are they rewarding this kind of behavior?
I mean, that's the thing, right? Like, it's like, is this what we want? Is this what we're, are we encouraging this?
Right.
I mean, it's not just about, a few ruined apples or a head of lettuce or whatever.
Right.
This whole thing like led to Smith's arrest. And actually, this was his second arrest in just a few days.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we don't actually know the details about that first arrest. They're kind of still under wraps.
Okay.
But this bug spray thing, it was definitely enough to get him in some serious legal trouble.
I bet, yeah, because it's beyond a prank at that point, right?
Right.
I mean, this is a whole trend now where you get these people who are like, fleeting online fame is more important than like real world consequences. Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, speaking of consequences, the judge in this case, he had some rather unique conditions for releasing Smith.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so not only was Smith banned from all social media, which makes sense, right? I mean, you kind of see that coming.
Yeah.
But he was also like prohibited from entering any Bosa Donuts shops.
Bosa Donuts, really? That's so specific. What's the deal with that?
Yeah, like where did that come from? It definitely makes you wonder what we're missing here, right?
Yeah, there's got to be a story there.
There's totally a story there. But, at the end of the day, this whole weird donut thing, it shouldn't distract us from like the bigger problem here.
Right.
These attention-seeking stunts can actually cause like real harm in the real world.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's attention grabbing, sure. But what Smith did, it has some pretty significant consequences.
Right.
I mean, not just for him.
Right.
But for public safety, too.
Yeah.
Like, what if someone, has a really bad allergy and they eat that produce?
Yeah, that's terrifying. You don't know what you're getting anymore at this point.
Exactly. And it could, I mean, anyone could copy him.
Oh, totally. Like this video could inspire like a bunch of copycat incidents. Well, it's not just about him anymore.
This is bigger than just him.
Exactly. It's about the effects that these actions can have on everyone, like on the whole community.
Yeah, this is where it gets really interesting, I think. Because it's not just about, one person being accountable.
Right.
It's about the ripple effects that these actions can, have on our community.
Yeah.
Like, think about it. If we connect this to, like, the bigger picture, right?
Yeah.
Smith's case, it really highlights the need for, like, greater media literacy.
Yeah. What do you mean by that?
Well, like, we are just bombarded with information now, right?
Oh, yeah.
Constantly.
Constantly.
From everywhere. And we need to be able to, like, discern fact from fiction.
Yeah, okay, I see what you mean.
We got to be able to critically evaluate sources and be mindful of the consequences of like our online actions.
Yeah.
Both as like creators and consumers of content.
That's a good point. I mean, it's not just about putting stuff out there, it's about what you're taking in too.
Exactly.
So true. And speaking of consequences, there was this interesting development in Smith's case. Like during his court appearance, he actually like pleaded with the judge to be released.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and not because of like his own circumstances or anything like that. It was because his pet Like, hadn't eaten in 6 days. Apparently, he lives alone, and he was just worried about his, his furry friend.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it's this unexpected kind of like display of concern
Right?
in this whole like crazy situation.
Yeah.
But the judge was, I mean, he was firm. Like he basically said, "Look, I can't control the bond conditions."
Okay.
So it's like you see this clash between like personal circumstances, the legal system, and just the need for accountability.
Right.
It's a lot to unpack.
Yeah. I mean, it's like this whole like Bosa Donuts ban. It sounds kind of arbitrary at first,
Yeah.
but it's probably coming from this legal principle. It's called, what is it? It's called specific deterrence.
Okay. I've never heard of that.
Yeah, it's basically where they use these like really unusual restrictions,
Okay.
and they often seem like completely unrelated to the crime. But it's all about deterring future offenses.
Oh, so it's tailored to the individual.
Exactly. They target the individual's like specific circumstances.
Oh, that's interesting. So, okay, so we've got this whole like strange case here.
Sure.
You've got this self-proclaimed troll and this whole internet notoriety thing, and then you've got this pet owner who's, concerned about his pet, and then this judge with his like unique approach to preventing crime.
Hmm.
Yeah,
It's a lot.
it is. It's a lot. But it's like even beyond all these crazy headlines, I think this story brings up some really, deeper questions about like online behavior and how it affects the real world.
Yeah.
You know, like how do we manage that?
Yeah. I mean, this whole Smith case, it really makes you think about like this growing problem we have,
Yeah.
with the internet and everything.
What do you mean?
Well, it's like people are trying to get famous online. They're doing these destructive things,
Oh, yeah.
and it can have some pretty serious real world consequences.
Yeah, and I think, what's really unsettling about this whole thing is that Smith's making like a ton of money off of this.
Yeah, that's the crazy part.
It's like he's being rewarded for this bad behavior.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a messed up system, right?
Yeah.
Where you get rewarded for like being outrageous.
Yeah.
And it speaks to this bigger societal issue, I think, where like shock value and sensationalism, they just overshadow, responsible content and stuff.
Yeah, for sure. It's kind of sad.
Yeah. It makes you wonder, like, are these platforms, like, are they doing enough?
Yeah, like YouTube and stuff.
Yeah, YouTube. Are they doing enough to prevent this kind of content from spreading?
That is the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's hard because on the one hand, you want to allow free speech and creative expression and all that.
Right.
But on the other hand, you have to protect people
Right.
from harm and like prevent the spread of dangerous information.
Yeah, it's a tough one for sure. It's a real balancing act.
It is.
I mean, it seems like right now, a lot of these platforms are just kind of reacting to things,
Well,
They're just taking stuff down after it's been reported.
yeah, that makes sense.
But I don't know, it feels like they're always playing catch up.
Oh, for sure.
So much content out there. I
Yeah.
think they need to be more proactive. Like, what if they used AI to flag like
Yeah.
potentially dangerous stuff
Oh, that's interesting.
before it even like gets a chance to go viral?
Yeah, that's a really cool idea. Like use technology to get ahead of it.
Right.
I like that. But even with AI, it's still tricky. Like, how do you define harmful content
Right.
without, like, stepping on people's right to say what they want?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's always going to be this like back and forth, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't think there are any easy answers here.
Yeah.
This case, it shows how difficult it is to find that, middle ground.
Totally.
It's going to take a lot of discussion and like critical thinking, and we just have to adapt as technology changes.
Right. It's constantly evolving.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so let's take a step back for a minute here. Like, big picture. What does this case tell us about the internet and online culture?
Well, to me, it really highlights just how important media literacy is these days.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to ask you to explain that a little.
Sure. It's like we're just constantly bombarded with information, right?
Oh, yeah.
From every direction. And it's so important to be able to tell what's real and what's not,
Yeah.
and like really think about the sources you're getting information from.
Okay.
And just be aware of what you're doing online. Like, what are the consequences of the things you're posting and sharing, and even just like reading.
Right. Yeah, it all matters.
It does. And it affects everyone. It's not just, a one-way street.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, it's like we were saying before, we need to build up that, what was it?
A digital immune system.
Yes. A digital immune system. We got to be ready for anything.
It's a good analogy, right?
Yeah, I like it.
It's like Your physical immune system, it has to be constantly learning and adapting, right?
Oh, yeah.
To fight off new viruses and bacteria. And our digital immune system, it's kind of the same way.
I see what you mean.
We got to be questioning the things we see. Yeah. And like really thinking critically about all this stuff.
Right. You can't just take everything at face value.
Exactly.
And, Smith, yeah, what he did was wrong. But I think this is a good reminder that even things that seem like harmless pranks can have some serious consequences.
Absolutely, yeah. Like for everybody.
Yeah, it's not just about you.
It's about everyone. And I think it's also a reminder that we all play a role in shaping online culture.
Oh, yeah. I see what you mean.
Like, if we support those creators who are being responsible,
Mm.
and if we're, like, critical of the things we're consuming, and if we speak out against harmful stuff,
Okay. Yeah.
we can actually make a difference. We can help to create a safer and more informed online world.
Yeah, you're right. It's like a collective effort,
It is.
So, okay, we've got these legal issues playing out with Smith, but then there's this whole other conversation we have to have
Right.
about responsibility and the role that these online platforms play in all of this. So where do we go from here? What's next?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it? I wish I knew. But, I mean, my guess is that we're going to see more and more incidents like this,
Yeah, probably.
And as that happens, I think there's going to be more pressure on these companies to be more proactive.
Right. Like they're going to have to step up.
Yeah, to address this harmful content.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's hard to keep up. But it's important, right?
It is.
I mean, the internet is such a big part of our lives now.
Totally.
It's how we connect with each other and how we learn about the world and everything. So it's got to be a safe space,
Yeah, I agree. And we got to work to make sure that it's a place where people can engage positively and not just, like, tear each other down.
Absolutely.
So, we covered a lot here.
Yeah.
We talked about Smith and his case and all the weird details and what it all means for online culture. And, how do we balance free speech with keeping people safe?
Yeah.
And how important it is to be media literate.
Right.
And, like, how we all have a responsibility to create a better online world.
But in the end, I think it comes down to one question. Like, how do we balance individual freedom, with the need to keep everyone safe?
That's it, right? That's the big question. And I think Smith's case, as weird as it is, it really kind of brings this question to light.
Yeah.
Like, in this whole world of, going viral and internet fame and stuff, where's the line?
Yeah, it's like it's easy to just, get caught up in the whole spectacle of it all. But like we were talking about, there are some serious consequences.
Oh, absolutely. And it goes way beyond just the people who are, like, directly affected.
Okay.
Like, these actions, they can create this whole atmosphere of fear,
Oh, yeah.
and distrust. And it can spread way beyond just, one single event.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Like, think about it. Parents, they start to worry about letting their kids, pick out produce at the store.
Right.
Shoppers are suspicious of each other. And the whole, like, the supermarket, it becomes this place of anxiety.
Yeah, it changes the whole dynamic.
Exactly.
And it's scary to think that, like, one person trying to get famous online can actually, like, undermine our sense of safety, like, in the real world.
It's a powerful thing. And you have to think about the copycat effect, too.
Oh, right, yeah.
Like Smith, he may have thought he was just messing around, but he might inspire others to do the same thing.
Yeah, that's what's scary.
And it just creates this cycle of, harmful behavior.
Yeah, it's like, we want people to be able to express themselves.
Of course.
But we also have to protect ourselves.
Exactly. It's that balance again.
It is that balance. So, I mean, what do we do? What's the answer here?
Well, I think it all starts with being more aware. Like, being more mindful of what we're watching and reading and sharing online.
Okay, yeah.
Like, are we supporting the people who are trying to make the internet a better place?
Right, make it a more positive space.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Or are we, accidentally encouraging the bad stuff?
Yeah, that's a good point. It's like we have to think about the impact of our choices, even online.
Yeah, it's a lot of responsibility,
It is.
especially when information spreads so quickly these days.
It's like wildfire.
It is. But it's a responsibility we can't just, like, ignore.
Right.
We all have a role to play in making the internet, a more responsible and ethical place.
So, like, what can we actually do?
Well, like I was saying, think critically about the things you see online. Question what you're reading and really consider, what happens when you share something. Like, what's the impact of that?
Okay, yeah.
It starts with each of us.
So I guess the the big takeaway here with this whole bug spray case, it's bigger than just this one guy.
It is. It's much bigger.
It's about how we interact online.
Right. It's a reminder that the internet, it's connected to the real world.
Right. It's not some separate thing.
And what we do online, it can have a huge impact on, on our lives and
Yeah.
on our communities.
And on the world.
Yeah.
So we've talked about Charles Smith, the bug spray bandit, and about how all this, it affects online culture and, free speech and safety and all that. But I think what it really comes down to is, the choices that we make. They matter, whether we're online or offline. They affect everyone. So stay curious, stay informed, and stay engaged. But be mindful. Think about what you're doing. Until next time, keep exploring.